All right, let's be honest for a second. You've probably walked into a nursery before, everything looks so green, so healthy, so ready, and you just think, why bother starting from seed when I can grab these and be done, right? But here's the catch. A lot of those veggie seedlings sitting pretty in those trays are actually the worst ones to buy. I'm talking about the kinds that look strong up front, but the moment you get them home, they sulk, stall, or just give up on you. Today, I'm going to show you 7 common veggie seedlings that most nurseries push, but that you'd be way smarter not to buy. Because there's a better way. I'll show you how to start them yourself for a fraction of the price and with a much higher success rate. No fancy greenhouse needed, no expensive tools, just a bit of know-how and some everyday materials you already have at home. And listen, if you've been pouring your money into seedlings only to watch half of them die within weeks, this video might just save your next planting season. So grab a cup of tea, pull your container garden a little closer, and let's flip the script on what nurseries have been making us believe for years. You're about to garden smarter, not harder, and keep a little more green in your wallet while you're at it. Hey, quick pause before we go any further. If you're enjoying these senior-friendly and budget-friendly gardening tips, do me a small favor. Hit that subscribe button. It helps this community grow, and it means you'll never miss our weekly SereneGreen garden guides, packed with easy, down-to-earth ideas to make your garden thrive without breaking the bank. All right, let's get back to it. All right, let's start with one that catches almost everyone off guard, beans. Whether it's your regular green beans, pole beans, or bush beans, nurseries love to sell them as cute little seedlings in trays. They look healthy, sturdy, and ready to go, but here's the thing. Beans absolutely hate being moved once they've started growing. Their root systems are delicate and quick to establish, so when you transplant them from that nursery cell pack into your own soil, you're basically shocking them. They just don't recover the same way other plants do. You might notice they stall for weeks, or their leaves start yellowing, or worse, they never bounce back at all. That's not bad luck. That's just a plant that doesn't appreciate being relocated. The best alternative? Direct sow them right where they'll live. Seriously, take those bean seeds and drop them directly into your container, raised bed, or garden plot. They germinate quickly, and within a week or so, you'll see those little shoots coming up, full of energy and zero transplant trauma. And here's a small insider tip. Sow a few more than you think you'll need. Beans sometimes have a mind of their own, and not every seed will sprout perfectly. Once they're up and thriving, you can thin them out later, leaving the strongest ones to grow. Doing it this way doesn't just save you money. It gives you healthier plants from the start. Your beans will grow faster, produce more, and honestly, you'll feel good knowing you did it the smart way, not the expensive way. Trust me, once you start direct sowing your beans, you'll never go back to those overpriced nursery trays again. Next up, let's talk about peas. Sweet peas, sugar snaps, snow peas, whatever type you love growing, this one is for you. Now here's something nurseries won't tell you. Peas absolutely hate being moved. They might look fine sitting in those tidy nursery trays, but the moment you transplant them, it's like they lose their will to live. Their roots are very fine and shallow, and once disturbed, the plant struggles to adapt. You'll often see slow growth, yellowing leaves, or weak vines that never seem to take off. That's why it's almost a waste of money to buy pea seedlings. You're paying extra for a plant that's already stressed before it even reaches your garden. And honestly, peas are one of the easiest vegetables to start from seed yourself. All you need to do is direct seed them outdoors, straight into your container, raised bed, or garden soil. They love cool weather and germinate quickly, so there's really no advantage in starting them at a nursery. And here's the best part. Peas don't just feed you, they feed your soil. They're natural nitrogen fixers, which means they take nitrogen from the air and return it to the soil through their roots. That's like giving your soil a free organic fertilizer boost, something your next crop will thank you for. So by skipping those overpriced nursery trays and planting your peas directly where they'll grow, you're not just saving money, you're helping your garden's ecosystem thrive. It's one of those smart gardener moves that pays off in more ways than one. Now, this one might surprise you because root vegetables always look so tempting when you see them all neat in those nursery trays. But if you've ever tried transplanting carrots, radishes, or beets, you already know how that story ends. They look fine for a few days, maybe even a week, and then all of a sudden, nothing. Growth stops, the roots split, or they come out stubby and weirdly shaped. That's not bad soil or bad luck. It's because root vegetables just don't like being moved. When you buy root veg seedlings, you're essentially paying for plants that are already doomed to struggle. Their most important part, the taproot, starts growing straight down from day one. The moment you lift them from those nursery trays, even gently, you disturb that root. And once that taproot bends, breaks, or gets squished, the plant never really recovers. Instead of growing one long, beautiful root, it forks or curls. That's why transplanted carrots often come out twisted or tiny. The smarter move is to direct sow the seeds right where you want them to grow. These vegetables are designed to do their best when started in place. Just loosen your soil, make it fine and crumbly, and plant the seeds according to the spacing on the packet. If you're growing in containers, make sure the pots are deep enough, at least 10 to 12 inches for carrots and beets, so the roots have plenty of room to stretch down without hitting resistance. And here's another little advantage. When you direct sow, your plants naturally adapt to the exact environment they're in. The roots form where they need to, and you get those long, straight, market-worthy carrots and plump, perfectly shaped beets. So skip the nursery trays for anything that grows underground. You'll save yourself the frustration, keep your harvest looking clean and healthy, and honestly, you'll feel like a pro when you pull up that first perfect carrot from your own soil. All right, let's move on to one of the biggest money traps at the nursery, leafy greens. I'm talking about your lettuces, your arugula, sometimes even spinach or baby kale. They always look so lush and perfect sitting there in those tiny nursery cells, right? It's hard not to grab a tray and imagine a salad bowl full of homegrown greens in just a few weeks. But here's the truth. Buying leafy greens as seedlings is almost always a waste of money. Here's why. These plants have very fine, shallow roots that don't take kindly to being moved. The moment you pull them out of that nursery tray and drop them into your garden or container, you're stressing them out. They might wilt, stop growing for a while, or even bolt early. That means they go straight to seed instead of giving you nice tender leaves. Basically, they're doing everything except what you want them to do. The much smarter approach is to direct sow your greens right where they'll grow. Lettuce and arugula germinate easily and quickly, usually within a few days, and you'll get stronger, fresher plants because they grow up adapted to your soil, your sunlight, and your watering routine from day one. Plus, when you plant from seed, you can stagger your sowing every week or two. That way, you always have fresh greens coming up instead of one big harvest that's over in a week. If you're growing in containers, and a lot of us are, here's a little pro tip. Use wide and shallow containers instead of deep ones. Lettuce and arugula don't have long roots. They like to spread out across the surface. Give them room, and they'll reward you with thick, healthy leaves that keep producing for weeks. So skip the nursery trays for these delicate greens. You'll get fresher growth, save some money, and honestly, there's just something satisfying about seeing that first sprinkle of seeds turn into a full patch of salad you grew yourself. It's easy, it's rewarding, and it's one of the simplest ways to garden smarter. Now let's talk about one that a lot of gardeners fall for, squash and cucumbers. Oh, I get it. Those seedlings at the nursery look amazing. Big green leaves, thick little stems, already halfway to fruiting. It's tempting to think, why bother waiting for seeds when I can buy this head start? But here's the truth. You're paying way too much for something that's not actually giving you an advantage. See, squash and cucumbers are what we call fast starters. The moment their seeds hit warm, moist soil, they wake up and take off. Within a week, sometimes less, they're already pushing out their first true leaves. And when you grow them from seed yourself, the plants are better adapted to your soil and light from the start. That means they'll grow stronger and more productive in the long run. When you buy them as nursery seedlings, though, you're getting plants that have already been stressed. They've been sitting in small pots too long, their roots circling around in tight spaces. The moment you transplant them, they go through shock. The leaves might wilt, stop growing for a while, or even bolt early. That means they go straight to seed instead of giving you nice, tender leaves. Basically, they're doing everything except what you want them to do. Plus, and this part's important, you lose out on variety and timing flexibility. Nurseries usually carry only a few common types, maybe a basic cucumber or yellow squash. But when you grow from seed, you open up a whole world of options. You can try compact patio cucumbers, round zucchinis, even heirloom varieties that taste better and fit perfectly into container gardens. And you can start them exactly when you're ready, not when the nursery decides to stock them. If you're growing in containers, and a lot of us are, here's a quick tip. Use wide and shallow containers instead of deep ones. Lettuce and cucumber don't have long roots. They like to spread out across the surface. Give them room, and they'll reward you with thick, healthy leaves that keep producing for weeks. So skip the nursery trays for these big leafy nursery plants. You'll get fresher growth, save some money, and honestly, there's just something satisfying about seeing that first sprinkle of seeds turn into a full patch of salad you grew yourself. It's easy, it's rewarding, and it's one of the simplest ways to garden smarter. Alright, now let's talk about one that a lot of gardeners fall for. Easy herbs like cilantro, basil, and parsley. I know it's hard to resist those tiny nursery pots packed with bright green leaves and that fresh earthy smell. You walk past them and it's like they're whispering, "Take me home, I'm ready to cook with." But here's the thing. You're basically paying premium prices for something that would have cost you just a few coins to grow yourself.
These herbs are ridiculously easy to start from seed. You don't need special equipment or fancy lighting, just a small pot, a bit of soil, and some patience for a week or two. Cilantro, for instance, sprouts fast and does even better when it's grown fresh from seed because it hates being transplanted. Basil pops up in less than a week under warm conditions, and parsley, though a little slower, grows beautifully once it gets going. When you buy them as seedlings, you're often paying 5, even 10 times what the seeds cost. And for what? Half the time, those nursery herbs are root-bound and stressed from sitting too long on the shelf. You take them home, transplant them, and suddenly they wilt, sulk, or never quite bounce back. It's disappointing and honestly unnecessary. Here's the smarter move. Start them yourself in pots or containers at home. You can use simple materials you already have lying around. Old yogurt cups, plastic bottles cut in half, even takeout containers with a few holes punched in the bottom. They make perfect seed pots, and you're reusing what would have gone in the trash. And once those seeds sprout, you'll notice something. The plants just seem happier. They grow fuller, smell stronger, and keep producing fresh leaves for much longer than store-bought seedlings ever do. Plus, you'll always have a backup batch coming up since you can reseed every few weeks. So don't hand over your money for overpriced nursery herbs. Grow them yourself. It's cheaper, it's fresher, and it honestly feels amazing snipping basil you started from scratch. You'll never look at those $4 nursery pots the same way again. Alright, let's wrap this up with one of the sneakiest nursery traps out there, mint and other fast-spreading herbs like oregano or lemon balm. If you've ever bought mint seedlings from a nursery, you probably remember thinking, it's just a few dollars, no big deal. But here's the honest truth. You probably paid for something you could have gotten for free. Mint is what I like to call the overachiever of the herb world. Once it starts growing, it doesn't stop. It spreads through underground stems called runners, and before you know it, it's taking over every inch of space it can reach. That's why gardeners usually warn each other, never plant mint directly in the ground unless you want a mint invasion. So when nurseries sell mint seedlings in those tiny pots for $3, $4, even $5, it's almost funny, because this is one of the easiest plants on earth to propagate yourself. You can literally snip a stem from a healthy plant, maybe from a friend, a neighbor, or even your own, pop it in a glass of water, and within a week, you'll see roots forming. Once the roots are a couple of inches long, plant it in soil, and you've got yourself a brand new mint plant, completely free. The same goes for other herbs that spread fast, like oregano, lemon balm, or even thyme. These plants want to reproduce. They don't need you to spend money on them every season. They just need a little trimming and replanting now and then. And here's a little extra tip. If you already have a mint plant, keep it in a pot. Don't give it free rein in your garden bed unless you want to spend your weekends pulling out stray shoots. Instead, pot it up, refresh the soil every few months, and when it starts to outgrow its space, divide it. That's how you get more plants. Again, at zero cost. So skip the nursery shelf for mint and other quick spreaders. You'll save your money, avoid the headache of dealing with invasive roots, and end up with a thriving collection of herbs that you propagated yourself. Honestly, that's the most satisfying kind of gardening, when your plants multiply because of your care, not your wallet. Hey, quick reminder before we keep going. If you're enjoying this kind of simple, straight-to-the-point gardening talk, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. We post new, easy gardening videos every week. Yes, every week. And they're all designed to help you grow more while spending less. And listen, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Each video builds on the last, so the more you watch, the better your garden gets. So take 1 second, tap that subscribe button, and join this growing SereneGreen community. Alright, now let's get back to the magic of saving money and growing smart, because I've still got a few more things to share that'll change the way you garden forever. Now, let's take a second to really talk about why all this matters, because it's not just about skipping the nursery or saving a few dollars here and there. It's about changing the way you think about growing food and making your garden work for you. First, let's talk about the money part, because honestly, it adds up fast. A single nursery tray of seedlings might cost you $10 or $15, while a pack of seeds for that same plant costs, maybe $1 or $2? Sometimes even less. And you're not just getting a few plants, you're getting dozens of potential plants. That's real savings, and it's the kind that builds over time. Imagine what you could do with that extra money each season. More soil, better pots, maybe even try a new crop. Then there's variety and control. When you buy seedlings from a nursery, you're limited to whatever they've decided to stock. Maybe 2 or 3 basic varieties tops. But when you grow from seed, the world opens up. You can choose heirlooms, colorful strains, compact varieties for containers, or even rare ones that fit your exact growing conditions. You're no longer just a customer. You're the one in control. And here's a big one. No transplant shock. Plants that grow where they're meant to stay from the beginning always do better. No struggling roots, no droopy leaves, no delayed growth. When a plant doesn't have to adjust to new soil or new light, it thrives naturally. It's stronger, healthier, and starts producing faster.
And finally, for my container gardeners, yes, I'm talking to you, this is where you really take the wheel. When you start from seed, you decide when to sow, how deep to plant, what soil mix to use, and exactly where your plants will go. You're not at the mercy of someone else's growing schedule or setup. You're in the driver's seat from start to finish. So when I say this matters, I mean it. Growing from seed isn't just cheaper, it's smarter, it's more flexible, and it gives you the kind of satisfaction that no store-bought tray ever will. You're building skill, saving money, and creating something from scratch. And that's the real magic of gardening. Okay, friends, next time you're about to spend $4 to $6 on a seedling, pause. Ask, could I just buy the seed and do it myself? If the answer is yes, which for many of those 7 it is, then save the cash, start it yourself, and enjoy the success. If you found today's video helpful, please like, share, and of course subscribe so we can grow our SereneGreen community bigger while our wallets stay fuller. I'll see you next week with another simple, budget-friendly tip to keep your garden thriving without breaking the bank.